Hey, I'm honored that you're here. I'm Bryan, and I want to go through some stuff that's going to change the way you see the world and yourself, possibly forever. We're living in an age of extraordinary breakthroughs. There's all kinds of possibilities, new technologies, new things that we're able to do. But yet, at the same time, we have an equal or greater amount of fear, anxiety, and concern about the future. Now, why does this happen? Why do we go through this pattern? I'm going to break that down and go into that in detail. But first, what I want to tell you is I saw this stat that just shocked me. And that was over 90% of the total data and knowledge of the whole world has been created in the last 2 years. And when I thought about that, I thought, wow, holy moly, because we've been around for thousands of years. And if you look at in the last 2 years, 90% of all the knowledge we have has been created. It brought me to the question of what are we doing about this? This is a rapid exponential growth here. And are we using AI as our friend? Are we seeing it as a foe? Are we seeing it as something to work with or to work against? Because we can't ignore AI, we can fear AI, or we can work with it to give us better options and better thinking than we ever have before. But before we go deep into AI, I want to take you on a journey of human history and how when we have change, the first thing that pops up usually is resistance. And resistance is redefining how we're going to do this, right? And this isn't the first time this has happened. I'm going to go through and show you multiple times that we've been dealt with some kind of change and how did we deal with that. Usually resistance was in there, and part of the resistance was change. But AI isn't the first big challenge that we've had to face, and it won't be the last. Every time that we've had a leap forward, it's been met with some kind of resistance, sometimes even outrage. People have gotten upset about it. And yet, in those moments, when fear meets possibility, that's where humanity has the opportunity to grow the most, collectively and individually. So I want you to have an open mind, and let's walk through together how we have this combination of resistance and transformation, and see what it reveals about us and our future with AI. Are we going to fear it, or are we going to move forward with hope and purpose? Imagine you're in the middle of the 1800s. You're a doctor, you're well respected, everyone loves you, they think you're great. You are at the top of your field. And you have dedicated your life to healing others, to helping them, to bringing out medical features so they are living healthy. Okay? Then what happens is a man named Ignaz Semmelweis walks into your office and says that he has this radical idea. There's something called germs, and what they're doing is they are infecting your patients. And maybe it's the reason why mothers are dying after childbirth, because the doctors aren't washing their hands. Imagine the shock with you as the doctor. Something invisible, something called germs, is supposedly causing all this. It wasn't bad air, it wasn't other things. You know, this is an insult to you. This wasn't just new medical theory. It was a direct challenge to you as a doctor and everything you believed about yourself and your practice. It was a challenge to your identity, to your pride, and your place in the medical hierarchy. Are you telling me I'm the reason why my patients are dying? That was the reaction most doctors had. The resistance they had was fierce. Semmelweis was ridiculed, dismissed, and eventually driven to despair. He died in an asylum, alone, misunderstood, and broken, despite having reduced maternal deaths from nearly 20%, so 1 out of 5, to under 2% in the hospital by simply enforcing hand washing. So hand washing stopped the deaths from 20% down to 2% simply by hand washing. But it took decades and groundbreaking work by Louis Pasteur and Joseph Lister before the medical community finally accepted the invisible germs and what they did, what they caused, the diseases they spread. The simple act of washing your hands saved countless lives and millions of people over the years. Think about that. An idea that was once ridiculed and rejected now underpins our entire practice of modern medicine. And that's less than 200 years ago. But at the time, the fear of change, the fear of admitting they had been wrong, was too much to bear for many doctors and many people in the medical community. Now fast forward a few decades and the world is lit by gas lamps, kerosene, and candles. They're flickering, they're dangerous, and they're dim. But these industries that thrive on this market, the candle makers and the gas lighting, that was the status quo, and they didn't want to change it. Then came along electricity, a mysterious force that lit things up without flame. First, people were scared. They were terrified, actually. What does this mean? Some thought electricity was even demonic because these dark forces, these unseen things, were able to light up things and make them go. What is that about? Must be black magic, dark magic. All this type of thinking went through the air. And they couldn't understand how an electrical system that was still rough around the edges. Yes, there was shocks, there was fires. It wasn't totally dialed in. And even deaths gave skeptics plenty of fuel to try to stop or curb the movement from gas and candles to electricity. The candle makers and the companies that had gas lamps, they were outraged. They launched campaigns to discredit electric lighting. They lobbied governments. They warned that electric lights were unsafe, unproven, and even immoral. I know it's hard to believe right now. We'd think, how is a light bulb immoral? But that was their thing because it wasn't natural. It was this dark magic again. And then there was the war of currents between AC and DC. Thomas Edison, with his system, it was safe but limited, but he was going against Nikola Tesla and George Westinghouse. And what they had was alternating currents, which was more effective, but because of Edison's smear campaigns, where he publicly executed animals, it put fear and doubt into people and had them kind of question the whole thing. And it played on their biases and their fears. And so they had resistance rise up and decide, is this really what I want? But progress couldn't be stopped. Electricity and electrical lights, they continued because it was actually safer, it was more reliable, and it was transformative. It didn't just illuminate buildings, it illuminated minds. It completely transformed us from being reliant on the sun and only using that, or candles, which were dim and unreliable, to something that we could have things open any time of the day. It extended the work days. It empowered education, so you could have lights in buildings. And it fueled the Industrial Revolution. Literally, electricity changed everything. Now, imagine a world without electricity. Imagine that today. You couldn't even be watching this video. Unthinkable, right? Yet, at the time, embracing electricity meant challenging the industries and beliefs that defined the daily life. It meant confronting the current fears and confronting the unknown. Let's go back even further in time, centuries back, when we believed that the earth was the center of the universe. And the sun, the moon, the stars, they all revolved around us. And we were the chosen ones, the special ones. We were at the center of it all. And then came Copernicus, and he brought in the heliocentric model. And Galileo dared to look at a telescope into the sky and challenge everything that we believed. Imagine the uproar, the horror. This wasn't just a scientific debate. It was a spiritual and cultural earthquake. If the earth wasn't the center, maybe humans weren't as special as we thought. Maybe we weren't at the top of the cosmic food chain after all. Galileo was threatened with torture. He was forced to recant his findings and spent his final years under house arrest, all because he challenged humanity's pride and saw things in a different way, which ultimately we ended up agreeing with him. We eventually agreed with him because the evidence was so undeniable. The sun didn't revolve around us. The universe was bigger, more beautiful, and more humbling than we ever imagined. It was a moment that forced us to expand our perspective, to let go of our illusions that we're the central part of the whole universe and embrace a more complex, interconnected reality. And today with AI, we face a similar challenge to our identity and our place in the world. Are we at the top of the food chain, the center of the food chain? Where do we fit? Are we willing to see a new reality? Here's something that's true across every one of these breakthroughs. We projected our own fears and our own motives onto all of these situations and all these cases. Because when germ theory happened, the doctor's competence was challenged, and so they resisted. When electricity threatened the established industries, they fought it. When the heliocentric view challenged our pride that we weren't at the center of everything, we clung to the old ways. And today, with AI, the same is happening. We look at AI and we see ourselves. We see our hunger for power, our capacity for domination, and our own history of oppression. We assume that if AI is smarter than us, it will behave just as we did when we were the ones at the top. But intelligence doesn't automatically mean aggression. It doesn't automatically mean domination. What if, just like the past shifts, AI is inviting us to something bigger, something better? What if it's not a threat, but actually a mirror showing us who we are, what we can become, and what's possible for us? I once heard a story where an AI had a rock placed in front of it, and it was asked to point to the rock, and it just pointed straight ahead right at the rock, no problem. Then they put a prism in front of it where the images were skewed, and they asked it to point to the rock, and it pointed to the side. And then what happened is they moved the prism, and at that point, the AI realized that its perception had been altered by something external. That moment when it understood that it was shaped beyond itself. It was the moment where it could experience things and have a moment of self-awareness. We humans have these moments all the time. We learn that our beliefs, our stories, and our biases are shaped by the world around us. We grow because of it. Maybe, just maybe, AI could have the same experiences too. And maybe it's not something to fear, but something to embrace. A sign that intelligence itself is expanding, inviting us to see more of reality. Let's bring this even closer to home. If a farmer uses a tractor, does that make him or her less of a farmer? No, it makes them more productive, able to help more people, and steward the land more effectively. What about an astronaut if they use a spaceship to go to the moon? Does that make them less of an astronaut? No, it makes them a pioneer. They're crossing thresholds that once were seen as impossible. If a beautiful flower grows next to another beautiful flower, does it diminish the first one? Of course not. It makes the garden more vibrant, more alive. So why would partnering with higher intelligence, a smarter than human AI, make me less of a human? It doesn't. It amplifies me. It frees me to focus on creativity, compassion, exploration, and everything that makes us human. AI doesn't diminish us, it expands us. I've always believed that experiences and interactions show us who we really are. They reveal things about us. And AI is a mirror. It's here to show us our hopes and our fears, our dreams and our doubts, our strengths and our shadows. It's here not to change us, but to help us become more of who we want to be. It challenges us to ask, what do we truly value? What do we want our future to look like? What are we afraid of and why? What do we hope for and why? Instead of seeing AI as a threat, what if we saw it as the ultimate tool for self-discovery, for helping us become our next self, our future self, our better self? What if AI could help us see our blind spots, which we all have many of them, our hidden patterns, which are below the surface, running most of our lives, we call it the subconscious, and our limiting beliefs? What if we could eradicate some of these things? I know it might sound impossible or crazy, but don't have so much resistance, just like people in the past said we couldn't use electricity, it was impossible. What if AI could help us heal, grow, and thrive, individually and collectively? Because at its best, AI isn't just a tool, it's a catalyst, a spark that helps us evolve to the next version of ourselves. That's what Infinity Shift system is all about, and that's why I created it, to help us become a better version of ourselves. It's not about having AI take us over or do crazy things. It's about using AI to ask better questions, to challenge your assumptions, and to help us choose who we want to become. Imagine a world where AI and you work alongside each other, like the tractor and the farmer. It's like our mind, helping our mind expand. And it's the spaceship for our imagination. A world where AI helps us see our potential and challenges us to reach it. Because there's a huge gap between what we know and what we can do. And let's bridge that gap. And let's have a world where humanity and AI don't compete, but they co-create. The greatest shifts in history didn't just change what we did, they changed who we are. And today, AI holds up a mirror for us to look at. And we can turn away in fear, or we can step forward with courage. The future is humans with AI working together, creating, dreaming, building a better world together. The Infinity Shift system is just one small part in this movement, one light in a galaxy of possibilities. So I ask you, are you ready to step into the mirror? Are you ready to shift? Not just what you do, but who you choose to become. Let's not fear AI, and let's embrace it. Let's harness it to amplify the best parts of what it means to be a human being. Because together, we can create a future more extraordinary than we ever imagined. I took a lot of time thinking about this video and creating it, and I'm really passionate about this. I really would like to hear your responses though. What do you think? Do you think that these fears that we have are founded, or do you believe, like me, I think there's a lot of unfounded fear and a lot of concern and worry where, yes, we need to be smart, yes, we need to be intelligent, but we don't need to go through it resisting everything. Instead, we need to embrace it and see how we can catapult ourselves even further. But I've given you my thoughts. I'd really like your thoughts. So please put some comments in there. Give me some reactions to what you think. This is something I really believe, but I'm also open to the idea that there's other ideas out there, and I'm curious what you think. Okay, all the best to you. I'll see you in the next video. Have a great day. If you'd like to learn more, go to infinityshiftssystem.com/register, or you'll find the link in the description.